كانوا يوعدون والذي قال لوالديه أف لكما أتعدانني أن أخرج وقد خلت القرون من قبلي وهما يستغيثان الله ويلك آمن إن وعد الله حق فيقول ما هذا إلا أساطير الأولين صدق الله العظيم.
Thank you, Maaz. Jazakallah khair. I now invite the President of the Aligarh Muslim University Alumni Association of Greater Chicago, Dr. Zafir Ahmed, for the State of the Association report. Dr. Zafir was at AMU from pre-university to PhD in biochemistry and left in 1978. He has been in the US for more than 3 decades, working at various senior level positions in pharmaceutical industries. We are grateful for his leadership of the association. Please welcome Dr. Zafir Ahmed.
Ladies, gentlemen, Honorable guests Jamiuddin Shah Sahab and Karim Afran Sahab, it is my great honor and pleasure to welcome you all on behalf of Aligarh Muslim University Alumni Association of Greater Chicago. And you know that we are here to celebrate the birth anniversary of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Every year we celebrate this event to remember this great man and his vision about education. Today, our chief guest is the former Vice Chancellor, retired Lieutenant General Jamiuddin Shah. We are fortunate to have him among us. The keynote speaker for today's program is Mr. Irfan Karim, and I welcome you both on behalf of AMWA GC. I believe AMWA GC is one of the most active organizations in North America. We are taking small steps to fulfill the dream of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Our mission is to promote and support girls' education in the underprivileged areas of India. I am glad to report that we have completed 20 projects during last 12 years. One project was just completed this month. This could have been possible only with your help and support. We request and look for your continuous support for this great cause. I am glad to inform you that we have more women's representation in ECN board this year. Please welcome our current ECN board members. I request ECN board members to stand up when their names are announced. Board of Directors, as you know, Dr. Abdullah Siddiqui, he is our board and member and chairman. Mr. Anis Khan is the board member. Mrs. Nargis Jahan, Mrs. Rubina Jamil, Mr. Ajmal Sufyan, and from the Executive Committee, myself, Dr. Aswan Sarid, our Vice President. She is still working outside. I think we should invite her inside.
Not because I came in.
Okay. Dr. Hina Nazli is our secretary.
She's outside.
Yeah, these people are very dedicated, really. And Dr. Mohammad Mushtaq is the treasurer, but he's in India right now. We conduct number of programs throughout the year. For example, Syed Day program, Mushaira, which is happening tonight, educational cultural program, iftar and picnic. Another important component of our program is Syed Global Scholar Award. So far, 78 students have been benefited from this program. Most of them are the students of Aligarh Muslim University. I feel very proud to say that our association consists of members not only those who are the graduates of Aligarh Muslim University, but also those who have never seen the Aligarh University but cherish the Aligarh movement, Aligarh Tahreek, initiated by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Their support for our association is highly appreciated. Please come forward, join our organization, be a member, bring girls' education projects from poor localities of India and support the cause initiated by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Nigah Buland, Sukham Dil Nawaz, जान पुरसोल, यही है रक्त सफर मीर कारवां के लिए. Please visit our website Chicago.org to see the details of our project. We have prepared a small video presentation about girls' education projects. Please listen to the project that we have completed. And thank you.
God gives me pleasure and peace of mind. Since when I have been studying here, my learning has become faster due to the pleasant atmosphere that it offers. I am very grateful to Aligarh Muslim University Alumni Association of Greater Chicago for this special gift.
Dr. Usman Ghani Imarat Girls Computer Institute was established in 2003. This building is donated by late Dr. Usman Ghani for promoting girls' education. We are thankful for Alumni Association of Greater Chicago for providing fund for construction of second floor of this building. Thanks to all members who donated for the construction. Thank you.
Alumni Association of Greater Chicago for your donation. Because of your donation, we are able to give a good guidance and good studies and many extracurricular activities. Thank you a lot for your continued generous support. We are thankful to you for promoting especially girls' education. Thanks a lot.
Public School was founded in July 21, 1988. The school is affiliated with CBSE up to intermediate in science stream. The school pays great attention on girl education. Dr. Rana Noor earned her PhD in maths from BHU and has been working as assistant professor in Udit Narayan PG College, Kushinagar. Besides this, 4 girls are also doing PhD from AMU in maths, zoology, biochemistry and chemistry. 20 girls are in medical courses in various colleges of the country. Many girls are also working as teachers after post-graduation.
I'm Iram Fatima. I study in class 7C. I'm extremely happy to sit in this beautiful classroom where I can enjoy the pleasant air along with my studies. This is a priceless gift from MUA of Greater Chicago to us. There was need for some classroom in girls section, and we are highly thankful to MUA that is fulfilled this need. They are doing a wonderful job in promoting girls' education. Thanks.
I am Fatima Zahra. I study in class 6. I am feeling very good. The rooms are very wide and spacious. Earlier it was small and dingy. Now we feel comfortable and pleased. Our study is going on much better sitting in this airy classroom. I am very thankful to MUA of Greater Chicago. Thanks.
I study in class 7. When it was under construction, I was very excited and I always wished to sit in this new classroom. My joy knew no bound when I entered the classroom and found it so big and well maintained. Now it gives me pleasure and peace of mind. Since when I have been studying here, my learning has become faster due to the pleasant atmosphere that it offers. I am very grateful to Aligarh Muslim University Alumni Association of Greater Chicago for this precious gift.
Computer Center, Pira Public School. This is a precious gift given by AMU Alumni Association of Greater Chicago to the students of Pira Public School, Ambedkar Nagar. The students are busy their works in the computer lab. This is properly arranged with 20 new computer sets.
I want to say many thanks to all members of MUA of Greater Chicago and its well-wishers who have given us this precious gift. Really, we were facing problems in learning computer science for the lack of computer. Now, this problem was solved, and I am sure we will get enough time to work computer. So we shall learn better. May Allah give them His mercy and justice.
I want to say a lot of thanks to the members of Aligarh Muslim University Alumni Association. Because of him, enough computers are available in our school, and every student will very happy to sit alone at one computer, and they can learn better. We haven't except much more to say thanks to the members of Aligarh Muslim University Alumni Association. May Allah give him happiness and blessing.
Students are very happy at this occasion and expressing their heartiest thanks to MUA of Greater Chicago.
Without your support, these projects would only be trends. You have the power to change a life today. Thank you so much for supporting girls' education projects.
बड़ी इम्पोर्टेंट लेबर है गाने तो भाई हम लोग खराब कर
I would like to thank many of our sponsors for their generous support of not only this program but our activities, including Mr. Syed, Mr. Mannan Ahmed, Ms. Santosh Kumar, and Dr. Zafir Ahmed, and many who don't want their names to be taken. Before I invite our keynote speaker, I would like to recognize the senior most Alligarian among us, Mr. Iman Beg. Please. Mr. Iman Beg went to Aligarh in 1949 in 8th grade in Minto Circle and graduated with an engineering degree in 1959. We wish you a long life and success, and we are very grateful that you are here. Thank you very much. I hope General Shah.
What a great honor to meet you, sir.
It's likewise. Mr. Iman Beg is presenting a book that he published to Lieutenant General Zamiruddin Shah Sahib.
Anwar Ali Beg. Anwar Ali Beg.
Not Iman Ali Beg.
My name is Ayman. Anwar Ali.
Anwar Ali Beg Sahib, and his son is Iman Beg. Just a minor correction. We move on now to our keynote speaker. This evening, our keynote speaker is Mr. Karim Irfan Square. Mr. Irfan served as the first Muslim president of religious leaders of metropolitan Chicago, a leadership body convening the highest level representatives of Chicago's diverse faith traditions. He was also the chairman of the Council of Islamic Organizations of Greater Chicago, a federation representing about 500,000 American Muslims in Chicago area. An attorney and a computer engineer, Mr. Irfan has previously practiced law at two leading global intellectual property firms. Currently, he is the CEO, Global Business of Crane Software, a multinational group of businesses providing enterprise software, business intelligence, and data analysis solutions across Europe, US, GCC countries, and India. He is also the Executive Vice President of the Northwest Suburban College. Mr. Karim is a recognized business leader, motivational speaker, popular Friday khatib, and interfaith activist. His topic tonight is Sir Syed's educational mission and its relevance today. Please welcome Mr. Karim Irfan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Respected convener, Dr. Ahmadullah Siddiqui, distinguished AMU alumni, and members of the executive board here, and our honored chief guest, Lieutenant General Dr. Zamiruddin Shah, Madam Shah, and all of the other guests around here. Any association with the legacy of Aligarh Muslim University is an honor. And I have been struggling for the last few months since the time my dear respected friend Dr. Siddiqui asked me to address you all here. I've been struggling to extract any possible academic link to the important attendees tonight. The closest I got until 2 days ago was the motto that is shared between AMU and Jamia Islamia, Allam al-Insana Ma'alam Ya'lam, because 2 months ago I had the privilege of spending some time with the Vice Chancellor, Dr. Shahid Ashraf there, and addressing the body of students of their business management school and their engineering schools. And we spoke a little bit about the interplay between what stands behind that motto and how it applies in the modern business world. So that for another conversation sometime. But today, Dr. Shah, thankfully, with your being present here, I was able to get another link. I'm privileged to at least say that I'm a fellow Josephite to your Nainital College, St. Joseph's College. I did all my education at the St. Joseph's institutions in Bangalore, so at least I have a minimal academic link to this august body of alumni out here. And of course, that doesn't compare in any way to your wishes, your Param wishes, Seva medals, but at least it grants me some level of finger bleeding, as we say, to connect amongst the martyrs. जो उंगली काट के थोड़ी सी थोड़ा सा खून बहा के जो शहीदों में शामिल होते हैं. It is humbling, my dear friends, to speak at this celebration dedicated to the greatest Indian Muslim leader of the 19th century, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, whose impact on evolutionary thought and education continues to be tremendously relevant even today. It is also humbling to be speaking to alumni of one of the most writer, reformer, scholar, religious leader, social activist. Sir Syed was all that, and he was more. A friend and a mentor and spiritual guide to so many. And also a family man, a father to his son Syed Mahmud, Syed Hamid, and daughter Amina, and a husband to his wife Parsa Begum. Preparing for tonight's lecture, I was mentioning this to Dr. Siddiqui a couple of days ago. Preparing for tonight's lecture has been an absolute delight for me. And I must thank you, Dr. Siddiqui, for this experience. Refreshing my knowledge about Sir Syed, it has literally been a new education for myself. Reviewing his visionary thinking on education, on modern perceptions of Islam, on interfaith initiatives, it has inspiringly convinced me once again of the remarkable currentness of his legacy. And my understanding of Sir Syed places him as a luminary in three distinct sectors. As a visionary educator, he passionately promoted widespread education as the only way to enlighten the masses. He espoused the blending of Western-style scientific education with traditional Islamic education and established many schools on these lines. As a distinguished thinker, he was a progressive activist in promoting social, scientific, and economic development of Indian Muslims by adapting the best features of evolved societies and cultures. And as a religious scholar, he was committed to the role of Islam in refining ourselves in reliance upon the higher virtues defined by the Quran and the Sunnah, and presenting this to others by informed dialogue across faiths and civilizations. Obviously, I'm preaching to the choir here. You're much better informed than I am, having gone through this institution yourself. And there is so much to be covered in the time that is allocated. So allow me to weave a bit back and forth as I try to present a cogent message about his legacy. And most importantly, its relevance to current times confronting us Muslims, particularly in the US and India, but with lessons for all over the world. Sir Syed has been called the Ibn Sina of his times. Charles Andrews perhaps best summarized this in the early 1900s when he said about Dr. Sir Syed, he had the grandeur, the lion-like strength, the high ideals, the passionate enthusiasm of a great mind. No Mussalman whom I ever met impressed me more by the force and dignity of his character and his commanding intellectual greatness than Sir Syed Ahmad. Wherever he went, he naturally took the lead. His personality demanded it, and men instinctively followed him. His very presence and appearance were commanding. He was a born leader of men. Granted, there are differing perspectives about Sir Syed, about him providing the founding platform for the two-nation theory, and his outcry against the Indian National Congress regarding the role of minorities and Muslims. Yet in most scholarly writings, especially those from the West, he stands out as a courageous and a conscientious visionary who covered the promises and the perils of new colonial modernity. Sir Syed epitomizes the effective blending of Islamic and Western thought, Islamic and Muslim thought with Western rationalism. As we celebrate this day today, let us remember that Sir Syed was born in Delhi precisely 201 years and 10 days ago, October 17th, 1870. And he promoted the better aspects of a declining Mughal empire. He envisioned a grand Anglo-Muslim alliance through the rubble of Mughal society. In the 1860s, and as all of you know this much, much better than I do, it was his trip to England which was transformational for him. As he took his journey from Banaras to London, and as reflected in his Safarnama Mushaira London, interestingly translated very, very eloquently by some of your fellow alumni, Mushir Hassan and Nishad Zaidi, I believe, who translated it as A Voyage to Modernism. Fantastic read. Everybody, I'm going to make sure that at least the people that I engage with in education, that they read that, Dr. Siddiqui. Fantastic read. As he worked on his journey, it was interesting that Sir Syed asserted that one key objection by, as he referred to them as the bigoted Musalmans, against his conduct in journeying to London was that he had eaten the meat that was dressed by Christians and not killed per Sharia doctrines. Sounds a bit familiar to what we've been facing around here. Yes. He justified his actions by the Quranic verse, and the food of Ahl Kitab is lawful to you. The hadith of Abu Dawood, eat of that on which the name of God is invoked, and the food of the people of the book is lawful for you, and your food is lawful to them. As he spoke of his travels in the Safarnama, he recounts the unique architecture of the Egyptian mosques, of the beauty, the greenery, and the freshness of French Marseille, of the lovely canals and palaces of Versailles in France. And yet he remarked that nothing could match the original beauty of the Taj Mahal. He was captivated by Paris's Notre Dame and the pillars, the foundations, and the lakes of the Élysée Palace. In London, he visited the mansions, the museums, and the industries. And yet what he focused on was the hope and the promise in British society. The equal opportunity for both sexes, the high manners and customs, and I quote, the beauty and excellence of education. He wistfully sighed at the time. If only, he said, my fellow Indians could attain to civilization. India will probably, owing to its many excellent natural powers, become, if not superior, at least the equal of England, he said. And his England trip ignited a keen interest in education. With his study of the British educational system, what he saw stimulated a fascination to promote modern education among Muslims in India. At the time he wrote of his passion, he said, no night passes when I do not talk about and plan for the establishment of a college. It was that driving passion that drove the rest of his life and focused on education. And as you know, his declared organizational platform was the Committee for the Better Diffusion and Advancement of Learning among the Mohammedans of India. He focused on the true benefits of education and scientific thought, and it was that which led to the college that he established, the Mohammedan Anglo-Indian College. And that, my dear friends, was the genesis of AMU that you represent. So let's focus a little bit on his concept of education. It was comprehensive, just like one of the historic scholars that I have admired for decades, Badi'uzzama Syed Nursi, whose inspiring principle was that true Islamic knowledge, he said, Syed Nursi, is a confluence of the religious and the modern sciences. And Sir Syed himself, he regarded broad ilm, knowledge, as the precondition for worldly and otherworldly salvation. Knowledge encompassing both the religious texts and the modern sciences. He said it is impossible for a nation to become civilized, to become honored, unless the education of the masses is pushed. Right action, he said, follows only from true knowledge. Education, he said, creates sound intellectual and cultural perspectives and stable value systems. And knowledge of the sciences, of history and literature must be broadly available was his prime driving factor. And this treatment, he said, is a cure for all the socio-political diseases of India. I repeat, this treatment, he said, is a cure for all the socio-political diseases of India. And he said, cure the root, and the tree will flourish by itself. Simple yet profound prescription for us to keep in mind. His focus on excellence was truly inspiring. The faculty at AMU, they were top-notch. The facilities were top-notch. The culture system was top-notch. Literally what we see in his implementation of his vision at AMU, and which all of you represent, is excellence in action. Now I can tell you, and I'm sure you all know of many institutions where we say we are focused on excellence. We say excellence in education. But the point here that I want to remind all of us of is Sir Syed's focus on excellence being implemented at every level of an institution. Look at something as simple as the AMU Sherwani, which so many of you are wearing today. The same Sherwani, Lieutenant General Shah, which you were so inspiringly particular in indicating that I will not grant appointments to my students unless they show up in these Sherwani, and that caused some waves, I know. But that was so proudly a stance that was taken when he said that is the legacy of this institution. And the story that is recounted by my dear friend Dr. Siddiqui when he said of the master tailor Mehdi Hassan, who personally took measurements to fit the alumni there, and saying this, zara sa utha hua, zara sa jhuka hua, he would take the measurements to that detail. And then he would say, when he was taking, I didn't understand that at first, but there's a fascinating thought behind it. When he would take measurements of the shoulder, for instance, he would tell his person taking the notes, thoda sa utha hua, thoda sa jhuka hua. And then he said, jab meri khainchi kaatti hai to sambhal leti hai, kahan pe uthana hai, kahan pe jhukana hai. Right? The point I'm making, brothers and sisters, it is that focus on excellence down to that level of detail. And that's what gives you the pride. When you look at that logo on your left lapel, it is the epitome of this focus on excellence in everything. Not just this choice of subjects or the teachers or the facilities or the students. It's this combination of the focus on excellence that was important. Another aspect of Sir Syed's legacy in education is that for him, education constituted not only a body of knowledge, but it also included the process, the manner of acquiring it. Hence his emphasis on tarbiyah, the upbringing of children in such a manner that they grew up to be humane, just, honest, self-respecting, and dutiful. He believed that while education offers a path to a bright future, its value is nullified without a gentle and benevolent culture, without the civic virtues which are the moral basis of a community. He emphasized the role of parents, regardless of their position in social hierarchy. He said parents are to be directly engaged in inspiring their children to noble action. And interestingly, in what we face in bringing the children up in the Western culture here, he said you cannot force students to do good. They could only be trained to be virtuous. He said that knowledge and capacity to use it does not drop from the heavens. It has to be strived for with sincerity and dedication so Muslims can bask in the divine sunshine. And this objective prescription of Sir Syed frees up Muslims from doctrinal and theological differences. And his slogan was inspiring. He said, make yourself fit for the task which lies before you. What a fantastic challenge to be given to everybody, particularly as Muslims, as students in the search for knowledge. Make yourself fit for the task which lies before you. And the college students where he established this institution, they were offered no retreats, and you can speak for this from your experience. No retreats from the requirements and the challenges of the day. He said a life devoted to good deeds is better than 1,000 acts of devotion and piety. Retrievement into jungles and repetition of God's name on a rosary. What a fantastic concept for us all to keep in mind. He showed that true Islam was compatible with thinking which is freed from ignorance, from prejudice and superstition. So Syed promoted a focus on science, reason and rationality. He wanted the pathway of ijtihad to be crossed so that we could rethink the evolving issues of life by viewing religion in accordance with current circumstances. And the driving theme he felt of La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah could be implemented. Okay, wonderful. 5 more minutes, please. I have got this. You gave me 30 minutes. So I've got, according to me, 10 minutes. But I will stick to it. I'm very particular. Everybody knows when I sign on, I ask them how many minutes. I try never to exceed it. You give khutbats here at Dr. Shah. We are stuck according to the American tradition. हमारे खुतबों में अगर आप 20 मिनट से 1 मिनट आगे बढ़ जाएंगे तो मुसल्ली उठ के भाग जाएंगे. तो आदत सी पड़ गई है कि भाई you have to stick to it. So anyway, ऐसा करते हैं compromise करके बीच में खत्म करते हैं 7 मिनट 7-8 minutes, if you don't mind. And I truly mean that. I have never enjoyed preparing for a lecture as much as I've done here. There is so much. ये जो ज़ख़ीरा है ना, इतना material है, and to just pull it together into a form that makes some sense. So that's why I'm so glad, Tariq bhai, that you are live streaming this and recording this, because I would love to make sure others get benefit from this. So at that time, he wrote to the Turkey's Sultan and Egypt's Khedive, the viceroy, saying, science and enlightenment were in every aspect compatible with Islam. Imagine that happening in the 1800s with his scholarly background and his recognition, forcefully sending that out to the centers of education around the world. He's emphasized that Islam's thriving required people to shun blind adherence, andhi taqleed se dur rehna jo zaruri hai batate the. By seeking the light in the Quran and the Sunnah, and by informing religion with the sciences. So what he did was he advocated a productive collaboration with Western scientific thought, and he interpreted, very interestingly, the tension between faith and modern values. We face this even today. In all of my interfaith work around the world, I face this tension every day. So what he said was the tension between faith of Islam and modern values was just a quirk of history, and it is not an inherent feature of Islam. If we cannot imagine that as visionary thinking, I don't know of anything else then. This is just amazing to see him do that. And how do those points apply to contemporary times? Muslims, he taught us, we should be confidently carving out a distinct platform with the establishment that we are located in, whether it is India, the US, Europe, wherever we are facing issues. That we should be adopting the better values wherever we find them to supplement our own, rather than be engaged in a constant state of resistance or withdrawing into our own cocoons. That is advice that applies to us right away, I can assure you of that. And he said this does not imply a dilution of the Muslim faith. In fact, he firmly noted that every word of the Quran was both word and meaning. The word of Allah revealed to the Prophet of Islam, and the work of Allah, the nature and the fixed laws, being coterminous with the word of the Quran as directed to the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And his acclaimed response to William Muir's Life of Muhammad was passionately driven by his love for the Prophet. In 1869, this is Sir Syed writing, "It has burned my heart. His injustice and bigotry has cut my heart to pieces," he said, reading about what Muir had written about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Take this into context with what is happening with the publication of the cartoons in Denmark and other places. He noted this and he said, "It has burned my heart. His injustice and bigotry has cut my heart to pieces. I am determined." His determination wasn't to resist violently, react emotionally. He said, I'm determined to write a full-length study in refutation, even if its preparation while in London turns me into a beggar or a pauper. That is the response we can learn from. Not this violent reactions that we see, emotional responses that we see fighting out, burning down stuff. This is what Sir Syed stands for. And while he credited Europe with good qualities that he found his own people deficient in, he was firm in the belief of the eternal truth of Islam and the capacity of Muslims to rise to the